All right, let's start with the Season 1 reveal. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be Season 15 or
folks.
I guess it's
I'm
like
Andre,
the first
also
split.
known-
I'm not exactly sure what this is, but this is apparently huge. So we'll see. Gameplay review ranked resets Season 1 reveal. Or are they just like, they're not calling it Season 15 anymore? Maybe they're just calling it Season 1. That could be part of it. I'm not exactly sure. Let's get into it and we'll be able to figure it out pretty quickly, hopefully.
Hey folks, I'm Andre, also known as Mandela.
And I'm Paul, also known as Pabro. We're back with the final dev update of 2024. Today is November 8th. We just wanted to give you a warning. We will be talking about arcane spoilers in our first section. So if you haven't finished the finale, skip to the time on the screen.
Okay, spoiler disclaimer out of the way. Let's take a moment.
You guys care? I guess we could just skip. I mean, I haven't watched any of Arcane, but I don't really care either. If this is not about the game, I don't really care. All right, let's see.
Hey everyone, I'm Chad, aka McIver. I'm the season's lead on League of Legends.
And I'm Steph, aka 100 Piece Nuggets, or the cosmetics lead.
In the last dev update, Medler and Pabro mentioned we're introducing thematic seasons.
Me, bro.
So today,
bro, this guy is scaring the f out of me.
in the last dev update, Medler and Pabro mentioned we're introducing thematic seasons. So today, we're here to talk more about what a season is, what to expect
Is he terrifying, or is it just me?
the theme, and what the experience is going to be like both on and off the Rift.
Over the years, we fleshed out the world and regions of Runeterra, as well as various alternate universes like Star Guardian, High Noon, or Darkstar. We've highlighted these worlds in moments like summer events or narrative drops around champion releases. Now we want to take that immersion further with our new seasons.
So next year, we're going to have 3 seasons, each around 8 patches long, where we're going to
Wait, 3 seasons. So it's going to be the 3 splits again, pretty much?
follow champions around different regions of Runeterra.
Or is okay, so this is not necessarily having to do with the ranked resets. All right, well, we'll just let it ride.
Each one is going to have its own theme, but we're going to have an overarching narrative that connects them throughout 2025.
And each season's theme will be the anchor for most of the content going into the game as well.
In the past, we've had these big releases like Swarm or Spirit of Hearthhome. They're super memorable and fun, but they're also not connected to a larger integrated moment. And in seasons, we want everything to connect together.
That's cool. I like that.
Things like gameplay updates, modes, mini games, and champions will mainly have a strong tie to the season's theme.
We'll have a bunch of skins that celebrate that seasonal theme, but we'll also continue to invest in a wide variety of skin lines that are unrelated to the season as well.
On Twitch.
So expect to see cosmetics celebrating Luna.
It will eventually go to League. Twitch bugs. Whenever you change your section, sometimes it just doesn't move you for a while, so I'm not in the League section, but I mean, eventually it'll change, or it'll just not let me change, so there's no point in complaining about it.
Or Revel, or things like bees.
Ultimately, our goal is to immerse you in the parts of the world that you were visiting from the moment you open the client to the moment you see the victory screen and everything in between. So enough tiptoeing around it. We know that you want to know what Season 1 is. So for our first ever season, we are headed to the land of strength and domination, Nexus.
Okay.
Hey everyone, I'm Riot Froxon, lead gameplay designer for League.
And I'm Riot Oberon, project lead of the Summoner's Rift team. Next year, when you step onto the Rift, it'll look a little bit different than you're used to. We want seasons to be a way you can immerse yourself in League, especially once you load onto the Rift.
I'm just getting anxiety. I don't know why I'm like, what the is going on today, bro? I'm feeling like weird watching this video.
So we have a preview of some of the updates you can expect in Season 1 of 2025.
We're headed to everyone's favorite region of fierce fighters, cloak and dagger magic, and strength, above all. Prepare to be decimated! Beyond the Noxian invasion of the map, we've also made some gameplay improvements and changes for next year.
First, it wouldn't be a new season without an overhaul to the item system. Just kidding. But there are some Noxian-themed boot upgrades.
Good one.
But it's not as simple as picking them up from the shop. In fact, they come along with a new mechanic, Feats of Strength.
There are 3 objectives that your team can claim throughout the game. First Blood, First Tower, and first 3 epic jungle monsters.
Okay.
If your team is the first to complete 2 of these 3 objectives, so for example, First Blood and First Tower, your Tier 2 boots will transform into new versions with slightly better stats.
Whoa, hey, I like that. As a jungler, I like that. Gives me more chance to win the game before my team throws it.
You'll also get access to powerful Noxus-themed boots, which you can purchase as a final upgrade. We want Feats of Strength to celebrate early game successes without immediately snowballing the game out of control. We're experimenting with different types of power progression. to see how it feels for a reward in the early game to open up more choices in the late game.
We're also introducing Nexus turret respawning. An incredibly frustrating experience is just winning a late game teamfight only to lose your Nexus turrets. You kept the game alive.
I low-key just lost a game like this right before I got on.
But at what cost?
Where we had 3 inhibs down. My whole team was inting. We had 3 inhibs down. We somehow came back as they threw. We had Baron and Elder, and then they just TF ported and ended the game. So maybe I'm in a more forgiving mindset to this, like, this idea, this concept. I'm more willing to hear it out right now.
Now it feels like your team is doomed to hang around in your base for another 200 years, babysitting an open Nexus.
200 years? Yeah, you got it. Okay.
To give your team a
They did the meme. I like that.
better chance that coming back from these situations, your Nexus turrets will now respawn after a set time once they're destroyed. Now, your team can rally for an epic comeback without having to worry about a backdoor cast-in.
I am generally a hater of comeback mechanics in League. I mean, I like games where there's not many comeback mechanics. It's like you're behind, you just end up getting more and more behind until the game's over. I like Warcraft 3 games like that where it's like, oh, I'm beating you. I will just snowball the advantage until you don't get to play the game. I kind of like games that don't have massive comeback mechanics. That's why I've always been kind of like a shutdown hater. I mean, they fixed the shutdowns a little bit. They're not as punishing. But the 1k gold shutdowns were like so cringe the way they worked.
We're also adding some new minor runes to rebalance some of the vision-related options in the domination tree. 6th Sense.
Wait, what?
Grizzly Memento.
Wait, this is...
Rebalance some of the vision-related options in the domination tree. 6th Sense. Grizzly Memento.
I can't even tell what it is.
And Deep Ward.
This is like so awkward the way it's edited.
As well as a new addition to the sorcery tree called Axiom Arcanist, which makes ultimates more powerful. We also couldn't resist changing items just a little bit, so we're adding some small scope adjustments to tank items and adding a new item called Bloodletter's Curse. Well, new-ish. It'll look familiar if you've spent time in Arena. But if you haven't, Bloodletter's Curse reduces the target's magic resistance from repeated spell hits, which is sort of like an AP version of Black Cleaver.
Finally, let's dig into...
So I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense to have that in the game. One of the things that people have been complaining about is like AP bruiser itemization is kind of weird because Leandro's is so OP for the longest time that like that was pretty much what everyone was building, but there's no real like AP bruiser itemization because it was just abused by specific champions. So they've just like nerfed it, and now pretty much all your and also they removed health from a lot of items. There was a problem in the previous season where mages felt like they didn't do enough damage because there was like health on every single mage item. There was health on Shadow Flame, health on Seraphs, etc., right? Every item had health. So now it feels like there's a lack of AP bruiser itemization because everything has been kind of skewed into the full damage realm of things. So I guess they're trying to add some AP bruiser itemization for very specific champions.
To the biggest update of the season, Adakon, Bringer of Ruin. The new epic jungle monster is drawn to death and destruction. He will spawn only once at 20 minutes on either the top or bottom side of the map.
Ooh, this is like how Roshan works in Dota 2.
Whichever side
And then, okay.
has seen the most champion damage and kills by 14 minutes.
Okay. Well, will you know where it's spawning? Will it say where it's spawning in game, or do you have to be just like I mean, it should be saying where it's spawning, right? I doubt it. You have to like calculate or like argue in chat about where it's actually going to spawn.
To signal where he'll make his entrance,
Okay.
Adakon's arena will spawn, adding new permanent walls to that side of the map.
All right.
Adakon's dark influence will also cause blood roses to grow periodically in the areas where champions have been killed.
Cool.
More death means more roses. Blood roses drop bloody petals for your entire team, which stack any number of times and last through the entire game. For each petal collected, your whole team gains a small experience and power boost, so if you see one, grab it.
Adakon has 2 forms, Ruinous and Voracious. Higher action games spawn Ruinous Adakon, who you might want to fight up close and personal to avoid his constricting rings of damage, which creates the perfect chance for an ace and a steal. Killing Ruinous Adakon grants bloody petals to the team who kills him and spawns a grove of blood roses in the area for anyone to collect.
Damn.
Voracious Otacon spawns in lower action games. He does less damage to his enemies, but, as his name implies, is hungrier. As his health gets lower, he gets an increasingly more powerful drain ability based on missing health. The team who takes down Voracious Otacon gets a one-time rebirth buff. Similar.
Bro, in competitive, it's actually going to be so interesting, right? Because you can actually play around. In solo queue, it's just going to be people fighting, and you'll probably get the Voracious one every single time. But in competitive, you could play lower action games on purpose if the enemy team has a lot of melees, if this is actually powerful enough, and make it really hard for the enemy team to take the objective.
Similar to Guardian Angel. So now you really have a reason to force that team fight.
We're introducing Otacon for a couple of reasons. First, unless you're T1, a 20-minute Baron is pretty tough to get. So removing Baron's
Oh, we had to get the T1 slurping going on in the season video. Nice.
spawn back to 25 minutes, and providing another mid-game macro option in the form of Otacon. Second, based on how Otacon plays out each game, we hope to see more different and interesting game states in both mid and late game. And we feel that designing an objective whose spawn location, form, and rewards are decided by how you play should make each game of League feel more varied.
Okay.
Our
So
goal-
is Baron just not going to exist, or what's happening?
For every gameplay change to make League better. As we move to seasons, this remains the same, so these changes were designed for the long term. That said, we'll keep an eye on how they're landing and make adjustments if needed. But for now, Otacon and all the other updates are here to stay for good. We can't wait to see how these go as you start your climbs next year.
As part of building seasons, we took a look at how rewards would be part of the overall seasonal experience. That led us to updating our reward systems. That means things like event passes, champion...
Wait, so is Baron still in the game? Or what? Because did they mention it? If is Baron still just going to be in the game? Because Otacon, like, I guess if you're losing, then you want to fight more bot side, because then you can get it to spawn away from the Baron and you could potentially trade objectives. Oh, 25 minutes?
Master-
Wait, did it say that?
Gets a one-time help.
A 20-minute Baron is pretty tough to get.
okay.
So removing Baron's spawn back to 25 minutes, and providing another mid-game macro option in the form of Otacon.
I mean, it's not even mid-game, bro. Like, 20 minutes is like already like late game in League these days.
Move to season, all the other
That's like when everyone's already doing their stuff. Okay, Baron
At
spawns 25.
building seasons, we took a look...
Wait, so does Otacon... Wait, does it say... What was Otacon's respawn? God, there's so much actually to look at. Did they measure the respawn timer? This is all stuff we need to know. Only spawn once. Okay, so it's only going to spawn once in 20 minutes, and then Baron will still spawn every 6. They're just moving the thing back. Okay, we'll go here. I don't actually care about this stuff. I care about battle pass and rewards. No, I'm just going to skip that. Let's go to ranked.
Switching gears a bit, I want to talk about another change for next year that isn't quite tied to seasons, but instead by feedback from all of you. Ranked resets. These have been a topic of a lot of conversation in recent years, particularly when it comes to feelings around how often you want to restart your climbs, how fast a climb should be, what feels rewarding versus what feels like a grind, etc. And looking back, we don't think 12 resets a year has been the right call for League. So,
Wait, what did he say?
and looking back, we don't think 12 resets a year has been the right versus what
Wait.
feels like a grind, etc.
Does he say 2 or 3? I swear he didn't say that.
And looking back, we don't think 12 resets a year has been... We're moving to 6 per year. Okay, just kidding. Please, put down the pitchforks. We're going back to 1 large reset at the start of each year with no additional resets during the year.
That's so lame. They should do 2.
Rank system tuning in terms of the size of the January reset, the number of the games to climb on average, and other systems will be similar to the numbers we used back in 2022 and before. That said, there will still be 3 Victoria skins you can earn, 1 for each season. If you want to earn each skin, you will need to win 15 ranked games during that season. Again though, neither your visible rank nor your MMR will reset except in January.
Next up, we want to chat about a potential replacement for quick play that we'll be trying in some regions. It's called Swift Play, and it's meant to be a lower stakes experience than Summoner's Rift, though with more strategic elements than you'd find in, for example, ARAM, team fighting for objective and aim if you're 0 and 10 as the game goes on. Those changes won't make it so you can suddenly jump ahead of your opponent if you're 0 and 10, but they will make it so that even if you're down, you're never completely out of the game.
The fact that Swift Play is also less punishing when behind should also make the mode ideal for those. We hope you'll give it a try.
Only
and let
one
us-
ranked reset a year? I mean, I guess it's fine. I like having 2 a year, personally. Because I feel like for somebody who doesn't play, like, I don't have... Okay, so I play in bursts, and normally I play a lot of League when there's not a bunch of pro play going on. And I think it kind of sucks when you start a climb. Because I remember I did it at the end of last year. Or no, the end of 2022. The the end of 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, I did my rank climb at the end of 2022, and it was like the Challenger, because the thing is, it gets inflated so high. Like Challenger was like 950 LP. It's like almost 1,000 LP for Challenger. And when you're starting a new climb and you're like, all right, Emerald 1, let's go. And like by the time that you hit, I think that split, maybe that's the reason why I'm salty. I didn't end up hitting Challenger that split. I was like 860. And I think I needed like 940 for Challenger. Like doing that grind just feels so brutal when it gets inflated that much. Whereas like when there's resets, like for example, right now I'm playing, I only have like 50 games on my account. I'm already like 500 LP off Challenger, right? So it feels like much more attainable to hit high ranks when it's reset twice a year. I mean, I think 3 is a little excessive, but twice a year, I think it would be much better for people climbing, because it just sucks to like start a climb and be like, holy I got to put in so many games. And then the other problem that people have is like when there's only one reset a year, a lot of people like camp ranks. So like you get a lot of weird, bad quality games around low Challenger. That's one of the problems I've had, where like you'll just get people that they don't play for 10 days and they're like rank 150 or something. So they don't play for 10, 14 days. So when they play again, they're like giga washed compared to what their average skill level or their skill level was when they got to this rank. And they just run it down and then they just like play 10 games. They don't care if they win or lose. And eventually they drop out of Challenger after like weeks and weeks of doing it. But having to only play 1 game a day for like 30 days. I mean, even if you're playing pretty bad in Challenger games, you can probably win like 12 out of 30. And it's like that. You're not losing that much LP if that's what you're doing, right? Sometimes you'll go 15 and 15 while not even playing well. So I don't know. I kind of don't like the idea of having only 1 ranked season.
Just know what you think when it hits live. We also have a blog dropping today with more details, so be sure to check that out. And last, but hopefully not least, we've got some changes coming to the practice tool. Over the years, you've told us that it's a useful but somewhat limited way to get better at League. The most common desire we've seen people bring up is to practice with other players, whether it's in one-on-one duels with a friend or on a full teamfight drill with a pre-made team.
Practice Tool wasn't built with multiplayer in mind, and we've had some cautions about how League could be a lot less fun if the optimal way to get better is to spend almost all your time in Practice Tool rather than playing real games. But we do think we've likely been too cautious here, so we're going to be giving multiplayer Practice Tool a try. You should see that on the PBE soon. It's an experimental feature, and we'll probably encounter an interesting range of bugs. That said though, we're looking into whether we can ship it as part of season start in January. And if that's not on track, we'll give you an update as to where it's up to.
Before we wrap up, one last seasons thing. We'll be changing up how we name patches to match seasons. So instead of patch 15.1 coming out in January, it'll be patch 25.s1.1, calling out the year, season, and patch number. Season 2 will then kick off in patch 25.s2.1. You get the idea.
I feel like that's just more complicated than if it was just 15.1. Like honestly, like the year, like 25, man, it's just crazy. But yeah, I mean, like a lot of the things that I wish that they addressed in League, it seems like they're never going to address, which is like number 1 would be being able to full mute. I think like being able to full mute or play with chat off is really frustrating when you're playing high elo, because you wish you could communicate with your teammates. Like this game is a very team-centric game, which if you look at the changes from League for the last 5, 6, 7 years, it has been pushing it to be a more and more team reliant game. Right now they're adding more objectives, so you need some planning. Like so now you have Void Grubs, you have second spawn of Void Grubs, you have Herald, you have Otacon or whatever it's called, Baron. There's so many different things and dragons that you're playing around this whole time, right? So you have so many things that you're playing around in this game, and with the amount of teamwork that you need, it's so frustrating to not be able to communicate. So I wish there was voice comms in the game, because there's voice comms in like every game, bro. Super Vive is just coming out right now. They have voice comms in that game already. You can just use voice comms in the client itself. I don't understand why there's not voice comms and why you're allowed to just mute all. Like so many times in high elo, I'll see this all the time in high elo, by the way. Like you'll play a GM game, your top laner will get solo killed at like 2 minutes into the game. And then, like, if I'm trying to win the game, I'm not going to, like, flame the guy. I'll just want to ask, what sums are up? Like, did he use anything? Because as a jungler, I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to win the game. If somebody gets solo killed, but they ended up using summoners, that's an opportunity for me to, like, actually capitalize, right? That's a window into the game. Obviously, a lot of times I'll watch myself. Like, I'll see them start fighting, and I'll look on the minimap, but sometimes I'll be in a fight on the other side of the map. You can't be looking at everything at the same time. If I am like 1v1ing the enemy jungler level 3 at his red, and then my top lane is trading, I'm not going to be panning my camera off my champion to top lane in order to like see what the is going on, be like, oh, did he burn a sum? So like the idea that you're just allowed to, like, people just get solo killed all the time, and then instantly what they do is they deafen and full mute because they just like don't want to get flamed because they probably did something disgusting, right? Like they are embarrassed by how bad they played. And for me, I feel like if there was voice comms, people would probably mute less. Like they'll get out their frustration in other ways. I mean, I've played with voice comms for years, with people, played even back when it was ranked 5s. And normally people are much more cooperative and collaborative in the game when there's voice comms. And that's something that I just feel like they're so against. But then they put it in other games, which is weird. I don't know. I just really hate the idea of not being able to communicate with your teammates in a game that requires so much coordination. I mean, there's so many times where I'm playing League as well, where if you're able to talk, and obviously you can type, but it's a lot harder when you're in a close situation to take your hands off the keyboard or the mouse, and then like press enter, type what you want, and then press enter again, and then have them read and coordinate. It's so much harder to do that than to just speak like you do in every other game. And there's tons of times where, I'll go for a kill and, I'll flash on the guy. Like we only need to use one flash to kill a guy, but because we can't communicate, we'll both flash, and then we're just losing a flash for no reason. I don't know. I just feel like there's so many situations that would call for voice comms in a competitive game in the year 2025. The fact that we're still not going to have it, it's just so disappointing. That's the number one thing I'm looking for every single year. I don't know. I just wish they added voice. I wish that they tried it. I don't see what the harm is of like trying voice comms. Do they really think that they're going to add voice comms to the game for like one split? And then it's going to be so toxic that everyone's going to quit the game. They're never going to play the game again. That if it proves to be a bad idea, then they could just revert it to what it was before. I feel like that would be a pretty easy way to go about things.